with Hamas. With me is Shehata from BBC Arabic. Saeed, I guess the need for aid is so great in Gaza that perhaps it wasn't a huge surprise that this particular distribution was overrun.
Yeah, people from Gaza talked to BBC Middle East Daily radio program and said that they were overwhelmed by the poverty and hunger. And some of them said they were exhausted and they were willing to do anything, even to put their life to harm in order to secure food for their children, because there is some reports about like children died from malnutrition and diseases and all of this stuff. So the floods of people, and part of the fence was broken because of the floods of people and cannot be controlled by the American security contractors who oversee the security part. So it's was not helping because the floods of people. It needs to be more organized than that in the critique or in the eyes of the United Nations.
It's another reminder of how desperate the aid situation is, really, this, isn't it? But the UN is still opposed to this way of distributing aid, and America called the UN's criticisms the height of hypocrisy.
It is like a war between both of them, between United States from one side and United Nations from the other side. United Nations insisted since the talk about this Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, the new mechanism, said it's against, contradicts with the humanitarian principles of neutrality, impartiality, independence, humanity. In addition to that, it will exclude people with mobility issues because you need to move from the north to the south or from the center to the south, where the centers of distributing aid there. In addition to that, it will harm people because still the fighting is ongoing. The strikes, the bombardment of the Israeli forces, the operation, which the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said it will continue for 2 months to control 75% of Gaza.
As you say, the conflict continues, and there are still behind-the-scenes talks all the time, but it seems like there's a difference between a temporary ceasefire or a permanent ceasefire, and that's where the sticking points lie.
There is a big difference. Since the deal of January between Hamas and Israel, brokered by United States, and the American President Donald Trump has a big role in that. It was supposed the second stage of January deal is for the Israeli forces to withdraw from the whole Gaza and to end all hostilities and start after that in a stage after that to reconstruct the Gaza. But Mr. Netanyahu refused to comply with the second stage according to Hamas, according to the deal. So there's criticism of that because Smotrich, the Minister of Finance in Israel and one of the main supporters of Mr. Netanyahu, said if Israel would go for the second stage, would withdraw from the coalition, so the survival of the Mr. Netanyahu government will collapse. So in this case, the second stage was not implemented. Now they talk about like some proposal, releases 10 hostages, a return for 70-day truce, and partial withdrawal of the Israeli forces. And then Israel said, no, should be half. 50% of the hostages should be released and temporary, not permanent. Hamas insisting in all its statement, they are sticking to the second stage of January deal of withdrawing, the full withdrawal of the Israeli forces, end of the war, and releasing all the hostages. It can be at once, it happened, but Israel and Mr. Netanyahu refusing that. So negotiation, talks, unfortunately, there is no indicators that they have bridging the gap between both of them, and the ongoing strikes is there. So there is strikes in the morning in the north, in the center, and some people died, some people injured. So the saga, the problem of the humanitarian and the people misery in Gaza is ongoing. Some aid is good news, but still is not in the amount people needed. Yeah. So still the situation need more solution and radical solution through negotiation.
So it goes on, Saeed. For now, thank you.